Hello, good afternoon. Today, I along my team will present the Ontario Fire Hydrant project, and this presentation will consist of the weekly summary status report. Like it is a summary of from week 1 to week 9. So let me introduce to my team. Harsh Thesia, he is a team leader. Divya Mistry, she is a developer, and I, Faraz Khan, is a business analyst. Next, for today's agenda of our PPT will be we will present you weekly status report summary from week 1 to week 9 and the work output. Divya is going to show you the Python code and what we have done so far and summary of all the things that we did. So, our client is Narivon Corporation. Let me tell you about Narivon Corporation. It is an IT company which takes a project on behalf of other government agencies, and this project is we have to find, if someone wants to find the if someone wants to locate the nearest fire hydrant, so that agency like fire department and any government agency can easily look into our project and search for a nearest fire hydrant and they can locate it. So our project's usage is this. Now coming to the weekly status report part. Now on first week, the new activities that we did were we were not able to communicate with our previous team, and we analyzed and gone through what we had and what to do but still need guidance from instructor and then its approval. Task completed in that week were that we set up timeline and milestone to complete the project through guidance of our instructor as well as Sasha. We set up weekly meeting, got response from Andrew, who is a team who worked on this same project last year, and we completed the setup of our SharePoint. Next. Now new activities that we did in weekly status report 2 were of that we discussed and gathered the data as Rick suggested, and we set up a SharePoint. Task completed in that week that we set up a timeline and took guidance from a instructor as well as Sasha, set up weekly meeting, got response from Andrew, and again the same thing that we completed the SharePoint setup. Next, coming to weekly status report 3, the new activities that we did were that again the same thing that we were not able to communicate with our previous team, finding the rest data that we have yet to be completed. We started data cleaning as previous team hadn't done anything in that regards. Task completed in that week that we discuss problems and share updates about tasks we have been assigned to ourselves. Finding the datasets of all fire hydrant locations across Ontario from government websites. So we did some research over there. We did research on government website and looked into the data sets for the fire hydrant locations across Ontario. Next, now coming to weekly status report 4. So the new activities that we did were that we were not able to communicate with client Narivon Corporation. We didn't know the reason about it. She might be busy in something. Next is that we cleaned the data that we have collected, finding a way to dump the existing data into SQL Server. Task completed in that week that we cleaned all the data and started to write a sample code to dump the data into SQL Server. Next, now coming to the weekly status report 5, now my friend Harsh will continue from here. Over to you, Harsh.
Yes, Faraz. So thank you so much for all the updates that we have given so far. In weekly status report 5, we are still not be able to communicate with our client. As far as we know, Sasha might be busy working on other projects or setting up different priorities or something. But yes, we are not be able to communicate with the Narivon and as well as Sasha. So what we have decided to do all the things on our own, and so that we searched all the data sets as well as finding different ways to dump this data into MS SQL. Right? Why we chose this MS SQL? Because we have been particularly given an instruction to do that, as well as our business analyst Faraz knows that. He also recommended about we should dump, or we should use MS SQL instead of Oracle or any other database. Right now, during data dumping, we tried traditional method, which is very lengthy and not efficient. So we are trying to find alternate ways to do that. Right. As far as this week concerned, we created our project dashboard, updated our MOMs on SharePoint, action items, and some of the technical activities like creation of database and etc. In weekly status report 6, we I and Faraz done with database dumping. We dumped all the database. Simultaneously, Divya set up a work environment to do the Python coding in Python coding means backend coding, as well as learning of JavaScript, right? Because we have been given because we need to do front end part, and front end part can be done in JavaScript, not Python, right? So we have done that. We started to getting on JavaScript. Simultaneously, we got an update from Sasha, and we updated her what we have done so far and what we are about to do in upcoming weeks, right? So yeah, in week number 7, Divya is not feeling well. She might, I think she catch up with cold and fever. So we didn't do much progress on Python coding, but yes, we continue to learn our JavaScript, as well as we continue to we have fetch some of the fire hydrant location, but we are still getting error of fetching address with basic Python, right? Next, in weekly status, so in this week we have been assigned an academic task, we have to submit our midterm presentation and what we have done so far in our Blackboard. And since this is a study week, so we hadn't do much apart from learning JavaScript. In week 9, as of now, we have completed all the backend coding, and we are successfully able to fetch nearest fire hydrant location. And since we are learning on JavaScript, we created a basic HTML page to how projects looks like at the end. So yes, we successfully created that part as well. And as far as we started to think on how to optimize our backend code as well. So basically, what we have done so far, how to reduce the code into minimal errors so that it would get a faster results, right? From now onwards, Divya will give you a basic idea about what we have done in our Python coding and what we are about to. Over to you, Divya.
Thank you, Harsh. Okay, so I'll start with the Python code that I have written to fetch the nearest hydrants. So in this code, we imported the libraries, then we connected in the second cell, we connected with our database, and we look for our table fire hydrant location, which consists of all the hydrant ends location along with their coordinates. Our table have these columns, latitude, longitude, geometry, facility ID. So facility ID is something, a kind of unique ID given to any fire hydrants. Location description is the exact address where this is located. City ID, in which city it is located, and status is whether the hydrant is still active or not. The cell number 3 shows the top 5 rows of the data. Now, we want to actually find, if you look at the project definition, then our goal is to find the nearest hydrants. So, generally, if we look at distance of 2 points on a plane, the formula would be different, and finding the distance between 2 locations on the surface of Earth is different because the surface of Earth is curved and not a flat. surface. So here that's why we have used the Haversian distance formula. There is an inbuilt function available in the Python library. We have used that, and we have find the location in meters, because we know that most of the hydrants should be located within 1 to 1.5 kilometers. So we kept the distance in meters. The next point is, it's a definition, it's a function definition where we are targeting to find the nearest 5 hydrants. So this value 5 is easily configurable. Right now we have kept it as 5, but if if we want to show more hydrants, we can simply add one variable, and we just need to update that variable at one location, and we'll be able to configure it. Coming towards the next cell, here we are actually calling our both the methods, the distance and the nearest hydrants, and using that we are fetching the nearest location of the hydrants, like the distance between the nearest location, hydrant location, and its location, like latitude and longitude. And the same we were printing it here. And here we have tried to create the web page. Let me actually rerun this. So this will create an output on HTML page called Ontario Fire Hydrant, and this is going to be a static page as shown in our slide. So the output is going to be something like this, where the one in white is our input location, and the one in red, the 5 markers in reds, are the 5 nearest hydrant location. So this is our backend logic to find the hydrants. Now when we came up with this HTML page, as you have seen in the PPT, that there is no way that we can take an input from the user. So we cannot create an interactive Google Maps just using the Python. So that's why we had to come to conclusion of using Flask, and within Flask we can use both Python and JavaScript. So we need JavaScript to take the input from the end user, and taking that input, we need to convert that address into coordinates, and we need to take that coordinates into our Python page, and then we will be finding the nearest location, the code that we just discussed. So right now, since we have already covered the backend logic, now I'm coming to the UI part, where we need to take the input location from the user and convert it to the coordinates. So this is our HTML and JavaScript logic. So the code might look short and simple, but it has to do with usage of classes and IDs, which is very much inevitable, for defining CSS. And not just CSS, we also need to load the Google Maps. So initially I faced an issue playing with the IDs and classes. As of now, the site has only 3 main input. So there is a header for address, then there is a text area to enter the address, and just to verify what location with what. Coming towards our web page logic, it has a very few elements. One is a text area where we are going to take the input, and the submit button. There's a div tag where we are loading the map, Google Maps, and then we need to calculate. This is a function where we are calculating, we are getting the coordinates of the input location. Let me execute the code. Okay, so this is going to be our base location. The location is currently set to the downtown Toronto. Let me add the address. So you see, so as you can see, we were able to locate the Georgian College, and you can see we have also got the coordinates of the college. So now the final part would be, in the final presentation, we will be linking our backend logic with the front-end logic. So right now, as you can see, we are just pointing the Georgian College. In the final output, you will also see that we are also pointing out the nearest hydrants. So that's all for today. Thank you so much.